Welcome back to Spitballin Cards. In today's episode, we have a couple fun topics. The first one being HGA and hobby snob mentality. Let's talk about the cast we have here today. No producer Lance still, but we have Ty, aka Teapot. We have Jeff, my favorite cardboard. We have Mr. Phil from Filmington, and we have baseball card addict Chris. So in today's episode, I've been on Twitter. I've been scrolling through Twitter, which is always just don't do it. It's not worth it. But I have been. And I've seen a couple interesting tweets. The first one is from those back pages. He posted a question saying, why do people call a $500 card a Grail? Like, why is that a thing? We're going to talk about that. And then I also want to talk about HGA because they recently have graded the Corbin Carroll Sapphire 1-of-1 rookie. Ty, what's the name of it?
Paparadasha,
which is a terrible parallel name, by the way. Yeah, but either way, we're talking about that because HGA graded one of Corbin Carroll's best rookie cards and go from there. So the very first thing I want to talk about is going to be about, can a $500 card be a Grail card? I want to turn it over to Jeff first and hear your thoughts. Oh, before we say that, let's define what a Grail card is. A Holy Grail card just means it's a card that is like, this is the card. Once I have this, my collection's complete. So he was kind of posing the question, if it's $500, is it really a Grail? Is it really something that is that rare and cool? Okay, Jeff, let's hear it now.
Yeah, that's very, even the question is very elitist because I think there's room in the hobby for everybody. And especially those of us, and I know there's a few in the group who collect players in baseball or other sports that might not be at the top of the value heap. For me, it's Keston Hiura. And I love getting rare cards of him, and I'll call some cards of him that I get a Grail card, even though to somebody out there who's looking only for value might not consider it such. So I just think it's kind of an elitist mentality, and that's the kind of thing that'll alienate people from the hobby.
Okay. Phil?
Well, I guess most of us can agree that what he said wasn't very tactful. But can we really say it was wrong? He could have said $5,000. And I'm trying to Google the definition of Holy Grail, even White Whale. They're both kind of, like eagerly sought after. And I see that as being like eagerly sought after, not by me, but by the masses, right?
That's the issue.
So objectively, right? Like, not that it's going to complete my collection, but does everybody else also want this item? Does everybody else also consider this card like, oh, one of the greatest cards to have for this particular player from this set? So if we're going to say that $500 cards can be Holy Grails, are we also collectively okay with, as a hobby, saying that there are 100,000 Holy Grails that were printed after year 2000? Because there's probably going to be a lot of cards that fit that, the $500 threshold. And, it might not be every card that everybody agrees with, but if there's a lot of cards that are loosely called a Grail that are just $500 or $400 or $300, I don't know. I think it all comes down to, what is your definition of Holy Grail? Do you believe it's subjective and you can define it for you, given your means and how much you're willing to spend on cards, how much cash you have available, maybe what the rest of your collection looks like? Or do you believe that it should be defined by a large group of people or the hobby as a whole? I don't know. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's just my word versus yours. It's like our cards investments. Well, whenever there's like a YouTube debate on if cards are investments or not, it always comes down to what my definition of investment is versus yours. Store of value, something I'm just speculating on. Is it something that has a good chance to go up in value? Does that
doesn't pay your dividends?
Exactly. Market cap. We could talk about that too. It's kind of a useless argument, but I will say that I was a little surprised it got as much backlash as it did. And I'm kind of glad that Eric's kind of standing behind it, in my opinion. Would I have said it? No. But I also have business interests where Eric does not. Eric also says a lot of things that I wouldn't say. I would rank this probably outside the top 10 dumb things he's ever said, in my opinion. And I've been following him for a while.
Eric, I don't know you personally, so no offense. Anyways, Teapot, I know you collect a specific player that no one else here cares about at all, really. So how do you feel about this?
Yeah, his name is Kobe Bryant. No, I'm kidding.
Don't drop him.
No, look, I got a little scientific in this, and I asked ChatGPT and Google Bard, which are both large language model chatbot AI related softwares. What is a Grail in the context of sports cards? And it said, in the context of sports cards, a Grail refers to a highly sought after, rare, and often expensive card, often, not always, that a collector dreams of owning. So it didn't say all collectors. It didn't say it's among the most iconic cards of all time. And both of them came up with the same answer, even though ChatGPT's dated back to 2021. I think anybody who has a certain card in mind that they're targeting, that for their collection is elusive, hard to obtain for whatever their budget is, something that they haven't ever seen surface, and they really want to track it down, can be considered a Grail. If you're going to break down a list of the most iconic cards of all time, PWCC did a nice job with that, in my opinion. And you can go to that list, and those would certainly be considered for many Grails. At the same time, I don't have any interest in owning LeBron James Topps Chrome rookie card. I don't have as much interest in owning Michael Jordan's 86 Fleer as I do many other Michael Jordan cards. So those aren't Grails for me, but they certainly are for even a PSA 1 for many people. So I have 2 cards. They're not baseball cards. They're basketball cards. These are the 2 1-of-1 Prism parallels for Andre Drummond. These were certainly Grails. They're 2 of my favorite cards in my PC. Here's an interesting phenomenon. 2018 Prism basketball is one of the most well-respected years of Prism for basketball. And there are 2 super collectors who are trying to achieve obtaining all of the nebulas and all of the black parallels from the entire checklist. They're trying to complete the set. One guy named Ross Berman is apparently like 9 away. I'd have to go double check from having the entire checklist, I believe, of 300 cards of this Nebula 1-of-1.
No way. That's
track
wild.
and I know who at least 4 of the people are who have these, who do not want to move them. So this card went from me buying it for, I think at the time I paid like $179 for this card, to, you know, I don't know what Ross would be willing to do if that was the last card he needed in the checklist to complete the entire set, for a set that presumably, if it ever went to open auction, could value at an insane amount of money. So maybe some cards have the ability of being transformers and turning into Grails if they weren't already for the general population. That's kind of interesting.
So there was a 1-of-1 that was cut up in pieces. Was it from that set or from a later set?
It was from the next year, 2019. That was the Lauri Markkanen.
It was Markkanen, yeah.
It was the Nebula. Yeah.
I know there was a Nebula, so that's good at least for him that that card wasn't cut up.
Yeah.
So you define a Grail as just whatever card matters the most to you, because you like Drummond. Those are
to
Grails.
Somebody. Yeah. For your collection, I think so.
Okay.
For sure.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
I'm struggling to believe what I'm about to say, but I kind of agree with Teapot here. I do think there are like, there's like 2 types.
Closers can be Grails.
Yes. I mean, well, no, but I retract my previous statement. Agreement removed. I do think there's like, when you say Grail cards, I think there are 2 types. I think there is like the hobby holy Grails, in which there's basically a list of like, you know, whatever the list was that you just referenced. Like there's basically that, like that's agreed upon by the hobby. These are like the 100 biggest cards. Fine. But there are absolutely personal Grails. And like you just showed your Drummond, like this Freddie Freeman is an ultra SP at a flagship of him catching the last out of the World Series. When I knew this card existed, I did nothing but hunt for it. And it took me just about 3 months to actually find one for sale. And it was intensely satisfying to find it. So that's like the only card in my collection I look at, and I consider that like my personal Grail. I'm sure I don't have anything on the top 100 like hobby list. Yeah. But that's okay. That card is like my Grail. So its value, it was definitely less than $500. And I don't really care if it goes to $0. Like that's fine with me.
Speaking of iconic cards, PWCC did a iconic 100 recently. Well, maybe a year or 2 ago. You guys know what I'm talking about. But for those that don't, they actually polled a bunch of people and said, what's the best 100 cards that ever been released, sports cards? I think, Ty, you voted for this, didn't you?
Yeah, I was part of the panel. Yeah.
There was only 2 modern baseball cards and they were both Mike Trout. And so, like, not even the Pujols Bowman Chrome first auto, which changed baseball card collecting, made it. So in that sense, none of the cards that any of us collect are Grails. So back to this conversation, I will be quick because I'm aligned with Ty. I do think there's two things I want to say. Grails can change as you're in the hobby. When I first got into the hobby, however many years ago, when I got back into it, maybe 2015 or 16, because I took a break for like 4 years. I was all after specific cards that meant a ton. Like, holy cow, that card's $50, right? Like, that's crazy. And it was before the boom of COVID. But for some people, they might not have more than $500 a year to spend on cards or ever in their lifetime. And so Grail can be defined as whatever is important to you in that moment. And Grails can completely change. I actually thought the Mike Trout Bowman Chrome autograph I had picked up was a Grail for me. And then you get it, and doesn't really have that Grail feeling we're talking about. But then I have a card like this, you know, it's a super refractory Billy Butler. He only has like 6 of them ever made, and I have 2 of the 6. Not saying it's better than the Mike Trout. I'm not, but I would not sell that, right? And so Grails change as you're in sports cards. And for those that are listening that have a tighter budget, you can have Grails that aren't $500 or more. Totally can. Teapot, me, Chris, Jeff does with Hira. I'm sure Phil does. He just says, Phil, I'm sure you have a Grail that's under $500, a card that means a lot. All of us have been there as well. So
I think the 5 of us can agree that if I was an alcohol collector, this bottle of Smirnoff citrus vodka is not a Grail.
Unless you've been drinking Pop-Off since college.
Is that a Grail for you, Phil?
It is not a Grail for me.
Maybe
Maybe we should stop using the word Grail so much, and maybe there's a different word that means something similar. Maybe you guys should just lose that from your vocabulary to, you know.
We should have producer Lance have a Grail counter on this video.
I actually hate the word. I hate the word Grail, but
well, good thing we're done with this topic, so no more Grail conversation. So the next conversation is actually kind of similar, though, in some ways. So it's going to be another Twitter post, and we're going to analyze the crap out of it. But I'm going to share my screen, and I will describe it to those on Spotify. We know you listen, and we love you guys so much for that. But here is this card. This is a beautiful 2023 Topps Chrome Sapphire edition. Tyler, what is this word?
Paparadasha.
1 of 1, which is basically just a pink superfractor. It's an atomic ice pink superfractor is what it boils down to, right? Well, this owner decided they're going to take that beauty and take it to HGA. So this brings up some interesting things. Your first thoughts, at least for me, was just like, ugh. But then your second thoughts are like, makes sense, right? And so I want to hear everybody's thoughts on this because there were a few questions that were raised that are excellent questions. They were saying, why would he grade it with HGA? You know, why would he do that? Also, why do we care what this person is doing with his sports cards? It's whatever he wants. We're supposed to just encourage people to collect. So I want to ask you all, what do you feel when you see this? We'll go with Jeff first.
All right. Yeah, there's a lot of questions there. And I think one that you didn't even ask is why grade a 1 of 1, which is also what some people talk about.
Yes, it is.
That's a great card. And I would be interested in knowing from that collector if he bought it as a PC card. I mean, if he graded it with HGA, which is hybrid grading approach. So they do kind of like a half AI, half person grading, I guess.
That might be overselling
it. All right. Well, however they do it, whatever hybrid model they choose, if that was his intention to grade it with them because he wanted the color match, which I know they do on their labels. For those of you listening, it's a pink card and they have the pink outline with the silver and it looks nice. All right. So is that for his PC? Because it just, if he would want to grade it to resell or have the greatest value, to me, it doesn't make sense. And I think that's pretty clear that the market has spoken that it doesn't make sense. But if it's for somebody's individual collection, they like the way it looks, they have other HGA cards, it matches up with them, great, more power to them.
If HGA reached out, do you think there's a world where HGA pays people to grade cards like this with them? It's like a marketing cost?
Nope.
You don't think so?
No, or else it would have happened more with cards like this.
Phil, you have experiences with HGA. What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, well, I am the HGA fanboy / apologist of the group. So I will first say that this card looks pretty sick in this holder with the matching label. The next thing I'll say is that this owner of this card made a tragic mistake in grading this with HGA. So HGA, I've actually had decent success on buying cards to flip in HGA holders. Stephen Kwan, number to 25, Sapphire, Auto. It was a card that was dinged up. And I decided that maybe I can get a 9 with HGA. And I did pull a 9. I was able to resell that card, and I was able to pretty much double my money. The card was severely damaged on the back. So for crippled cards, HGA, there's definitely a use case there. And maybe some other grading companies outside of PSA as well. There's probably some PSA haters that submit all their damaged cards to PSA and get 10s, and will say that. So you can see here, based on the subgrades, there's an 8 there, right? I can't really see through the picture, but is that an 8 surface?
Yeah.
9?
See if I can zoom in a little bit.
So this card was pretty damaged. So that could have gone through the guy's head, and maybe that's why I decided to go with HGA. Still, I wouldn't use HGA for this specific card because it's a superfractor, basically. Papradaskas, that's what I call it. I know I'm saying it wrong. Of Corbin Carroll, the top rookie from this year. This is not a $400, $500 card. This is probably multi-thousands. And
is this a Grail?
I'm trying to stay away from that word, Scott. But I will, with this particular card, you get it slabbed. So there's definitely a reason to get it slabbed, and it's to give the card some sort of protection. It's to allow people to understand that it's authenticity, and it's to make the card more liquid, right? Because of it being authentic, and because potentially the buyer knowing what he's getting, what the defects are. Well, none of those three things, other than the protection, are you really getting with the HGA holder. You don't really know if it's authentic. It could still be a fake card, right? So you're not even really adding that much value to it other than making it look nice. So you're giving that protection. You're not really making it more liquid because it's an HGA card. And the reason why it's different from a Stephen Kwan, number to 25, orange auto, is because this is not necessarily a collector card where they might be able to overlook the holder if somebody is to buy it. It's above that. It's more of an investor card. And the first thing they'll do is crack this out and send it to another company. Now, having said that, maybe this person's perspective is a little bit different. Maybe they want to hold on to the card forever. If that's the case, then great, I guess. But you're literally going to have to be buried with it because you're not adding any value to the card by having that holder. And again, there's still probably some authenticity concerns. Liquidity is not being helped. I mean, this is probably a PSA 6 and an HGA 9 holder. But, you can't really expect everybody to optimize the grading process, and everybody's going to have different opinions. So where I think it's pretty clear cut that this should have went to a different grading company, a top 3, even top 4. People could have different arguments for why that's not the case. And you can't always expect people to be perfect. So at the end of the day, like, why criticize somebody? It's like probably half the cards that I see in cases, well, not half. Let's say 10%, where they submitted it to the wrong grading company. It's just not highly scrutinized, and I don't look at it and stare at it and question it for long enough for me to come to the conclusion where oh, that should have been sent to SGC because of this, that, and this. So at the end of the day, who cares? It's just one card, one person's decision, whatever. Card looks cool. End rant.
That was a quality rant, Phil. I got to say that was good. Might just let the dust settle for a minute. But yeah, I have no problem with grading one of ones and superfractors. I think everything Phil said is dead on. They're totally protected and they're authenticated, which is great. I feel like we've all kind of broken this card down pretty well. I want to ask you guys a question about it. If you were going to sub this to PSA and you knew it would probably get a 6, would you sub it to get the 6, or would you sub it just to have it authenticated? What do you think would increase the value the best, or hold the value the best, or be best for the card? If you're saying,
would you ask for PSA Authentic as the grade? Is that what you?
Yes. Yeah. Would you grade it with a number, or would you just grade it? Ask them to authenticate it. What
are you wanting to sell it?
Yeah. Yes.
I'd probably sell it raw.
Well, you can't now. It's been graded by HGA. If you sell it raw, it looks even worse.
Oh, I thought Chris was saying if you pulled this card.
Oh,
No,
I
man,
see.
if any of us, we buy this slab, we're cracking it immediately. What are you going to have PSA slabbing? What are you going to
I'm getting the grade. At this point, it needs to be known. Plus, we talk about liquidity. I think a lot of people are more hesitant to buy an authentic PSA holder because they don't always mark altered on the authentic holders versus just
and
knowing
it could
what
be
the grade
terrible. There
is.
could be a huge problem with it.
It could be a 1, you know? And so I think even a 6 is better, especially for a card like this.
That's a tough call. PSA 6 or authentic and PSA holder. I don't know. I'd prefer PSA 7 definitely over PSA authentic.
Yeah.
The right decision is, and people are going to hate us for this, but send it to SGC or Beckett and try to get at least an 8. Even if you get a 7.5, and that's probably the right answer. At the end of the day, I mean, you're not getting a huge premium for a PSA slab anyways over Beckett because it is a 1 of 1. So
yeah,
just try to get a grade back that's not as much of an eyesore to the prospective buyer.
Can I just say this? The Surface subgrade of 8. This is why I don't like subgrades. That's why I like round numbers. Because if it was just a 9 and no subgrades, it would be a lot easier to look at right now. Like a lot easier to look at, which I think we've already mentioned, but still. So grading 1-on-1s, I'm all for it. Makes total sense to me for all the reasons Phil said. You have liquidity, you have authenticity. It's, you know, there's no question about the validity of that card. It's not a backdoor with the serial number added. You know, that's the big thing. And for this gentleman or lady, if they bought this card because they just like the color pink and they wanted to have a pink label, that's awesome and good for you. But like Phil mentioned, it's going to be tougher to sell. But how do I word this? People in the comments are really upset about this, right? They're really going because this is a big card. And I don't know if they're jealous or what it is. Like, should we even care about what this person does with this card, right? I know that's a very vague question, but Ty, what are your thoughts? Like, how do we not get worked up over this specific issue?
I generally just steer clear from crapping on other people about what they do in the hobby, and it's their card. If they pulled it, if they bought it, if they own it, they can grade it with whomever they want. I would pretty much echo, though, a lot of what's been said. Like, agree with Phil. If you're doing this and you think it's going to increase the value, it's a hard no. Like, it's not. This is not a good value proposition. Unless you knew there was some big defect and suspected you could slip it by HGA with their hybrid approach. And, you know, I've seen other cards that have been dinged up in HGA slabs, whether they got to the grader that way or wound up in the slab that way, who knows? But that can, you know, people look at a lot of numbers and think, oh, I'm going to, you know, pick up this high quality card. I'm not suggesting anybody scam anybody or do anything crazy, but I could see why somebody would potentially do that. And as to the question about authentic versus PSA 6, I think I would completely agree with exactly what Phil said. Like 7 to me is the number. What's interesting is the LeBron triple logo man that was pulled. That was all the rage when Flawless came out and everybody was chasing those cases. Ended up graded authentic with Golden Auctions, and there was a lot of suspicion that it was because it might have graded like a 6 or worse. So that was, I distinctly remember that number. People were throwing that around and saying, well, it's better that it's just authentic now because 6 looks really bad on this, what's supposed to be multi-million-dollar card. So
the funny thing is 8 used to be horrible. And then we kind of all got okay with 8. And then 7 used to be horrible. And then we kind of all got okay with 7. But I don't think 6 is ever going to become accepted too much.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. But
what we should be doing is lighting up the manufacturer if there's any card that's a 1 of 1 coming out in 6 condition out of a pack.
Especially a Corbin Carroll 1 of 1.
That's not good. Yeah. That one looked pretty good, though. Centering was good. I don't know.
Watch, that might be a PSA 10, right? Well, might just be a PSA 10. Maybe it has a big fingerprint on it.
Just
they don't wipe it off HGA. Yep.
Maybe HGA's technology doesn't recognize the paparadasha very well. It thinks it's a defect. Who knows?
Awesome. Okay. Well, last question of this episode. And I would turn this more to Chris and Jeff and Phil. And maybe Ty. Actually, Ty as well. You guys all, I'm more of a rookie collector. Okay. But what about second and third year cards? We saw a huge increase in value of second and third year cards in 2020. Mike Trout, 2012 and 2013 cards at the Rookie Cup in 2013 went crazy. Juan Soto cards went crazy. Remember the Soto Shuffle Stadium Club Chrome card? That went crazy. All the Cup cards of Acuna went crazy. but they've kind of all died down. So what's the future of second and third year cards? Is their value still there, or do you think that your money is best spent with rookie cards? So I will first ask Ty. We'll have you start off, even though you just said yours. I want to hear what you have to think.
I would just repeat what I said in the past episode, which is that I just gravitate toward cards that I think have some meaningful significance in the design, in the photo, plus the player, maybe the moment, maybe the season. So rookie cards to me aren't as appealing just by virtue of being a rookie card if we're just talking about my desire to own the card. If we're talking about investability, I think second, third, fourth year is just completely meaningless. I don't see any value in that. I think it's a weird hedge, especially nowadays with how many rookie cards are coming out for players. There's no need to go into second year. There is an interesting comparison that I've done in the past to stack up like a lower tier rookie card in like a PSA 10 and then like a second year case hit or something that's super rare, gold, you know, whatever that somebody might be really interested in. I think you could have an interesting conversation like we did last week about those two things. You want the higher grade, or do you want the, you know, the card that's more rare? Do you want the rookie card, or you want the super rare second year card or fourth or fifth year card for that matter? But in general, I don't think there's a lot in terms of like investability into subsequent years beyond their prospects and rookie cards.
Yeah, with me, investability, it's so tough because the hierarchy is always with the guys that debuted after a year, 2016, 2017, the hierarchy of rookies is so muddy and unclear and confusing. And it's just getting more difficult 2020 and above, where like, if you can't figure out the hierarchy of rookies investability and first prospect, then you've got like second prospect cards, then like the second year stuff is very difficult. Even the low numbered stuff, even the rare stuff, even the cool images, it's hard. Like I really want to let the dust settle 5 years from now to actually like look back at, okay, this player has been, you know, he's established, he's had cards for 10 years now. Like which second and third year cards have demand and why? And is there a pattern across other players as well? Rookie Cup, Jeff and Chris, I know you're a fan of these. You'll probably bring these up because you brought those up offline. There's an association with that to rookie itself. So I think that makes it an interesting case. You see that with Topps Heritage and Topps Chrome and Topps Flagship and some other Topps products. So I think those are interesting to me a little bit. Yep. But generally, and I'm going to speak about this mainly from like a speculation and investment standpoint here, not as a collector really. Generally, the second and third year cards could outperform the rookies, but it would take a market like 2019, 2020, where all of those cards are kind of catching up. So you get like this period of overperformance, but it doesn't really last. And then you see those prices really drop. And at that point, if we're waiting for the next card cycle, are the rookies even going to hold up for a lot of these players? Like, why hold the second year stuff if that's going to be even more susceptible to downside risk in the meantime? And it's hard to predict cycles, right?
Totally agree. Chris, let's hear what you have to think.
I'm trying to look up something right here, but I will attempt to ramble until I get my answer. I really like second year cards, but they have to be special. So we're talking like gold or black or lower numbered, stuff like that, because there are so many rookies getting printed right now. Like you guys were saying, most of them are basically worthless right from the get-go. Like no one's looking for a Top Sonic base rookie, an Alden Ginter base rookie. Like so many of these like side sets are just useless. So I would definitely value like a second year Topps Flagship Black well above all these other like sort of nonsensical insert rookies that get printed. You know, like Corbin Carroll is going to have like a 200, you know, Topps and Bowman rookies this year. I would take his second year Flagship Black over probably 160 of them if I had to look at it. I was just going to look up value wise. And the Gold Cup is fantastic. Jeff and I, kids of the 80s, and even the Gold Cup goes back to, I want to say like 1960 maybe. So there's a lot of history there.
It went and then went away for a while and came back.
That's right. I was just going to look up to give an example here, what card would sell higher, a Mike Trout's base update in a PSA 10 or Mike Trout's 2013 Gold Cup Black in a PSA 10, and I'm pretty sure the black is going to outsell that base rookie gem. And I think it's go ahead.
No, I agree. I think there's a lot of great conversation there. I think a lot of people would rather have the black. One, it's going to be easier to sell because, you know, it's a very rare Mike Trout card. Put that on auction, you'll get a good premium for it, maybe even higher than you paid. The one thing I'll say is I'm a rookie collector. I have a hard time paying money for a card that's not a rookie, you know, just because every year more cards are made, more autographs are made, more cool parallels are made, more short prints are made, more image variations are made every single year. And it's just getting worse with every single set they're introducing. Now there's chrome variants of every single one of them. I understand the continuity of having a black parallel. I get that. But for me, even though there's still a million rookies, you still know generally which rookies are the best. And if you don't know that, you can always go for a lower tier Bowman Chrome auto or something for the same cost. I guess my point is I have a hard time with second and third year cards just because they aren't going to have the demand a lot of the time unless it's a very special occasion like the Mike Trout occasion you just mentioned. Especially now. If anything pre-2016, I might feel slightly different, but especially now, it's even harder for me to buy into it personally.
So I have an interesting comparison for two cards. Maybe to put this in perspective, would you guys rather have Ohtani's 2018 Chrome update, so the rookie debut batting, you know, bat over his shoulder, the pink refractor, SGC 10 that sold for $320 on October 11, or would you rather have his 2019 Topps Chrome PSA 9 gold wave refractor numbered to 50, which sold for $328 10 days prior to that? So you got the 2019 gold. It's actually on the follow through. I think it's a better photo. It's the gold wave PSA 9 or the pink refractor rookie debut SGC 10.
I would go with neither. I don't like that card. You know, I think there's other options for $300.
You don't like the rookie debut card?
I don't love it just because he has so many Topps base images. He has so many. He has Sapphire. He has 2 Topps update. He has Series 2. He has short prints, 3 short prints in each of them. Like, there's just too much.
He buy a Grail and you just focus on a Grail instead.
Yeah, I'd rather just spend over $500 at least at a minimum on Ohtani card. I just say between those two, absolutely the gold, in my opinion. But I just think you get $200 to buy something cooler than those two for that same price.
I'm trying to present a dichotomy and be like, you know, there's a.
I'm sorry for your dichotomy.
It's an interesting example, right?
Yes, if those are my two options, I'll take the gold wave.
Totally
gold pink. You know, gold wave pink. So, yeah. But I think you can do that. Whatever your budget is, whatever your price point is, you can find that type of data or that type of card comparison from a rookie card. Well, from a prospect Bowman first to a rookie card to a non-rookie, non-prospect card and make that decision for yourself. But usually there's an interesting question to be asked about the rarity versus like the rookie or prospect value that carries long term, I think.
Totally agree. Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Well, I just wanted to mention, it seemed like the prevalence of that second year card really came to be during the run, during the boom and the COVID run up, where guys like Mike Trout, where his rookie card, remember it got up to, it was touching $8,000. It was like consistently selling over $5,000. So people were looking at a much cheaper way to get invested in Trout. So they looked at a second year. And I think that phenomena happened quite a bit. And now that the prices have come way back down, people are realizing, well, what am I going to do with this second year card? But yeah, I agree with what everybody has said. If you find specific cards to target, and I know Chris and I have been looking at pre-2016 cards of Hall of Fame players, their second and third year black parallels, guys like Miguel Cabrera, Albert Pujols, cards like that of players that we think will stand the test of time with maybe parallels that'll stand the test of time. So I feel like there is some value there in non-rookie cards, but you do have to be specific.
I will say, if I'm just being a rookie stan over here the whole time, like even all-time great like Pujols, he's actually had a ton of rookies in 2001. Like he was very overprinted compared to a lot of players from 2001 till 2014.
Oh, for sure. But I'm talking about his base rookies. Yeah. Would you rather have his?
I'm just saying a lot of them aren't worth very much for what you'd expect Albert Pujols to be worth. But if you went for his black second-year card, well, he wouldn't have that. His black third-year cards came out in 2003. That card would have a ton of value. So I get what you're saying, absolutely. And what Pujols was, it's going to be a lot worse in the future. So with what this era is.
All right, follow up to Ty's question. Would you rather have Shohei Ohtani's Topps Chrome blue refractor in his rookie or his second-year gold refractor? I have no idea what the blue. I don't know what they're selling for, if I'm being honest.
So number to 150 rookie versus number to 50 second year?
Yes.
Oh, that's easy. Obviously go with the rookie. Come on.
Okay. How about purple rookie? Number to 250, 299?
Purple rookie.
Here's a better one. Let's go with Corbin Carroll. Now in the flagship sets, they have parallels numbered to 999. Okay. Still a numbered rookie literally at a 999. What, like, would you go with that or a Corbin Carroll second year card? Like, or even this 399 flagship rookie of Corbin
I have
Carroll.
no interest in any of those flagship parallels. None.
The foils don't do anything for me whatsoever.
Topps black or bust. There's two.
Or Topps Chrome gold or bust, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Topps heritage gold or bust.
Oh.
All 5 of you.
Damn.
All 5 of you in the world. Okay, I think that wraps this up. Thank you for watching, everybody. Do we want to do any shout outs? Ty, did you have one you wanted to shout out before we?
I'll save it for next week.
You're gonna save it.
I have a good one based on what we're talking about. This gentleman on Instagram, his name is cardboard_showcase. He has the entire rainbow of Acuna's second year Topps parallels, the paper ones. So I think there's 20 something, but he has the 1 of 1 and the clear. They're on his Instagram, cardboard_showcase. Check it out. It's pretty impressive. And the image variation there too. It's impressive to see them all in one picture. It's pretty cool.
I'm going to find it real quick before we let everybody go. But Ty, tell everybody to follow us everywhere while I'm doing this.
Follow us over on Instagram at Spitballin Cards and let us know if you want us to cover any topics. Shoot us a message. We'll be happy to look into that and let us know down in the comments. Make sure to like, subscribe, set that little bell icon, and Scott, show it.
I'm almost there. Okay. Is this the page you were talking about, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we just got to keep going a little bit. It's just when you get you'll see a picture with like, I don't know, 25 cards in it. It's gonna be on the left. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There it is.
There.
Here it is.
Yep, right there.
That is pretty cool.
Like, that's great.
Love that.
Yeah.
Where's the 1 of 1?
It's in there. Somewhere in there, I think.
It doesn't stand out. Remember my comments about the platinum parallel?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. The
can't
paper
find
one.
it.
It is
Paper 1 of 1s don't stand out.
underwhelming.
Not very identifiable or cool looking.
Doesn't take away what this collector's done, though. Other than that, thanks for watching, everybody. We appreciate you watching our videos, and we'll see you later.